Welcome back to the 13th Destiny with Magnum, and of course my wonderful, awesome co-host from sunny, beautiful California, San Diego to be correct, Danielle Long is standing by on the phone.
Hi, everybody.
And there's our wonderful co-host. And we'll also have a guest. We'll be announcing who she is in just a minute. I'll give you some background on her. Let's do our normal weekly shout-outs, and then we have something new today as well. So our first shout-out is for our one I've been doing business with for over 20 years. That's the Holiday Inn University Plaza Hotel at 1021 Wilkerson Trace, right here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Be sure to check them out. Always check ahead. We have a lot of events going on. We have one going on right now today that I got caught up in traffic earlier. So just always check ahead. Make sure you can get a room there. They're also adjacent to the Sloan Convention Center, which is owned by the city of Bowling Green that they manage. Also, our friends down at Oak Grove Racing and Gaming near Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne, and of course right there near Clarksville, Tennessee, the military city. And then we have a new thing this week. We have the tshirtgrove.com. We'll do a link for them. They are our newest sponsor of our show, and they directly will be a part of our sponsorship. And that's their first one. They're our first official sponsor with. And if you want to be a sponsor as well, we'll have some more information about that as well. But, yep, the tshirtgrove.com, and we will provide a link. And we'll be providing a link for our guests for their stuff as well. So let's tell a little bit about our guest before we bring her on. And I'd mentioned last night what a great guest this is going to be. She has a PhD, holds a doctorate in Parapsyic Sciences, and is a Reiki Master. She is a graduate in Intuitive Insights and has been teaching for 15 years. She also studied the Silva Method and Tony Robbins seminars. She is has the American Insitute of Holistic Theology and School of Healing Arts. She has her own holistic business since 1990, practices Reiki, massage therapy, hydrotherapy, animal communication, intuitive counseling, spiritual Tantra, and teaches all of the above. Her passion is awakening and wholeness for humans and animals. This should be a very interesting show, indeed. And so, the guest's name is Yvonne Kirkpatrick, and welcome, Yvonne, to the show.
Hi there.
Good to have you on, Yvonne.
Hi.
And there's Danielle. Welcome you.
Hi, Danielle.
So, I want to dive into a little bit about everything that you do. If you want to give me any additional stuff, we'll start with. So, what exactly is Parapsyic Sciences? Because I'm not real familiar with that myself.
Parapsyic Sciences is the study and practice of things that you can't see per se. You know, people talk about Ghostbusters and talking to spirits, talking to dead people. You know, psychometry, which is, you know, making things move. You know, you can also clairaudience, where you hear messages come through, clairvoyance, where you see images. So it's a big encompassing field.
So it goes a lot with a lot of our paranormal stuff that we have. I thought that's kind of what it was, you know, but I wasn't sure, and I was like, I had never seen it written up like that, and so I thought I was going to ask that question. I was like, I kind of want to know exactly what that is. And how long have you been dealing with stuff like that?
Well, I took my, I got my doctorate back in the early, like 2000-ish.
Okay.
But I have actually been practicing spiritual awakening techniques and clairvoyant practices since childhood. I could always tell my mother, you know, what she's thinking, or I'd ask her a question, and before she could answer me, I would answer it myself because I could hear or I could see her answer. Oh. And then the same with animals. You know, I always had the knack for healing animals and talking to animals. And is that how it all started? That's how it all started, back when I was a wee little tiny thing.
Okay, and then can you kind of like go from how it started and then up into how you got into all of, you know,
doing it for a living?
Graduated, all of it.
Oh, okay. So this is an exciting thing. I always love talking about the roots, because as a child, I assumed everybody could do this. And it was quite a rude awakening when I found out most people don't. But I remember we lived in an area called Lemon Grove in San Diego, and we were living right behind a dairy. It's no longer there, it's condos now. But somehow I got out of the backyard, I got into the pasture, and I laid down with the cows, and I fell asleep. And the police came. My mom thought I was kidnapped. Oh, wow. And they finally found me over in the pasture with the cows. And I remember telling them they're not going to hurt me. You know, they have a lot of information to share with me about how they live their life, how they get treated, and, you know, the process of producing, you know, the milk for the humans. And I was going on and on about this, and all I could see, the police was rolling his eyes. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Wow.
But at least, you know, at least they found me safe and sound. So that was one of my earliest memories I had, was with the cows. But my earliest memory of healing an animal was when I think it was 7, and I caught an alligator lizard, and he had a tumor on the top of his head. And I took him into a pet store to ask if there was anything that they could give me, or I could, you know, like a salve, or, you know, something I can put on his head to make it better. And they said, oh, no, there's nothing. Just stick him in the freezer, put him out of his misery, and then throw him away. And I said, you know what? I grabbed my lizard back, and I ran home with him. And I started crushing up an aspirin. I mixed it with some water and made a paste. And I would sit out in the sun, in the chair, every single day for about 2 weeks, just patting his head with this mixture of aspirin and water. And after about 2 weeks, it crusted off, it fell off like a scab. And then I went back to the pet store, and I said, aha, look at, you know, I fixed him.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was huge. That was kind of like my beginning of knowing I had this ability to do healings. But also in 2nd grade, the kids were a fanatic of my fingernails. Like, they could see blue streaks coming out of my fingertips, and I would grow my fingernails to about a half an inch or so, and I'd always hide them, like keep my fingers curled up in my fist. And then I would harvest my nails. Like, after about 6 months, I'd cut them off, and I'd sell them for $5 a piece, and these kids would just take some, like, glue, you know, like that white glue, Elmer's glue, and just stick them on their fingernails so they could have my magic powers. But,
I love it.
as I went on into, you know, people asking, oh, I have a really bad headache, is there anything you can do for me? I would place my hands on their head and heal them. And sometimes out of the corner of my eyes, I would see those blue streamers coming out of my fingertips. And I go, oh, this is what those kids saw back then, you know, that made my fingernails so valuable. They thought it was the fingernails that created the healing and not the actual hands or the energy I was channeling. And then I had gone on to, a friend of mine said she had this offer. We could go 2 for 1 to do a Reiki class. And I go, why do I want to do that? I'm doing it anyway. I just don't have, you know, the certificate. And she goes, well, come on, it'll be fun. So I did, and it was like everything that I already practiced. And but now I had the backside, you know, the information of why it works. Also, what I learned that was very valuable is being neutral, because I had, at that time, prior to taking the Reiki class, I had invested myself into these healings. Like, they better heal or else. You know, like I told that lizard, you heal or else.
Oh.
Or else you're going to die. So I felt like I scared him into healing, right? But I learned at the Reiki training to be a total neutral space and not put any of my preconceived notions into the mix. And so now I teach, you know, these healing modalities to other people, and that is the most important thing that I bring up is we can only be of service to the universal life force that flows through us. We can't force anything, and we can't be judgmental. Like, if a person walks in and they've only got one leg, we can't say, oh my God, what a poor person, I feel sorry for them, because that's going to impede their healing, their ability to receive the healing. So instead, it's like everybody is energy. It's neutral. And if they choose to heal, that's on them. And if they don't, that's on them as well. I can't judge myself because somebody decides that they want to pass away the next day, and I'm a terrible healer because I didn't fix them, right?
Right. Well, I was going to bring something up about that, since I've had a lot of.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to ask your question, Danielle? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about that because I've had a lot of things where I've had to use chiropractic, massage, you name it, because of a lot of different pains and various things I've had over the years from things that have happened to me. And sometimes it seems like it works temporarily, but then it seems like everything comes back full force, harder than before. Is there any reasoning to that? Or is this just too much damage? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so let me share with what first came to mind is, so you may have heard the body has muscle memory. All the cells, we have millions of cells in our body, and all these cells are storing information all the time. Okay. And so when we have an injury, it goes much deeper than the skin or the flesh. It can be stored in our emotions. It can be stored in our mental. And so when we get a physical healing, like say from a chiropractor or massage, that could help the body, and it temporarily feels relief. But yet the memory, the mental memory of the incident or the emotional attachment to the incident could animate it, so it comes back again. And so one of the techniques that I developed, this is probably like 30 years ago, is I hit my elbow on the refrigerator one day, and it sent shock waves through my ulnar nerve, and it hurt really bad. So I went and I sat down on the couch, and I held my elbow. I was doing Reiki on it, and something came to me about rewinding this video. Like, okay, we're in a video, okay, and I'm an actor in this video, and I'm going to rewind myself as I see myself, I rewind it back to the point before I walk into the kitchen. I'm watching it. I see myself bang my elbow on the refrigerator door, and I scream in pain. Okay, so after I've rewound that specific incident, then what I'll do is I will splice out, I'll cut out that piece out of the video, the old school video. So I used to do this with cassette tapes back in junior high school. I would, make new cassette tapes by splicing them out. So I use the same technique in my mental. This is all my imagination, mind you. So I imagined I splice out that piece where I had the boo-boo, and as I'm doing it, I'm also being in the neutral mind. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, what just happened here? I must have, been stupid. I wasn't paying attention. So none of that stuff I attribute, to this incident. So I'm totally neutral, like I'm just watching another actor, do this role. And so I splice out that piece of the injury, and then I mentally rewind back my video, and then I watch it again. And this time I watch myself walk in the kitchen, I open the refrigerator, I get what I want, I go sit down, I eat, and I live happily ever after. So in my mind's mental memory, this incident never happened.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so if you can always remember it doesn't matter what, it could be a stub toe, rewind. I'm going to rewind it, cancel, splice it out. It never happened.
Well, that would have helped a whole lot of things. But, wow, that is something fascinating to me. I had never even thought of doing anything to that level.
Doesn't it the mind doesn't know any better? Because, right? So
the mind,
the mind doesn't know, the mind doesn't know better, what'd they say, a lemon, there was a lemon where you imagine that you had a lemon, you imagine not, I don't know, the mind.
You're on the right path, because the mind is very suggestible. And take for example, somebody that is deathly scared of snakes. They'd probably have a heart attack if they saw a snake, right? That's not me. I'm not afraid of any animal. But say somebody was definitely afraid of snakes, and they're driving through the desert, and there's a rope, like somebody's rope fell off their truck, and they see a rope up ahead and they think, like their mind all of a sudden thinks it's a snake, they could physically give themselves a heart attack if they thought it was a snake. So your mind, this is where the Silva method came in. It used to be called Silva Mind Control way back when Jose Silva started it up. It's where a lot of the Tony Robbins and, you know, all the different self-help gurus came from by taking the Silva method. But they teach us how powerful our minds are. And if we can just corral our mind and teach our minds how we can have a better life. And, you know, how many times have you, say Monday comes around, it's like, oh my God, not Monday again. It's like, oh God. So you're already setting ourselves up, you know, for a lousy day, which then carries over to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if we can instead, you know, like when we go to sleep Sunday night and we just, you know, cuddle into our pillow and say to ourselves, wow, tomorrow's Monday. I'm so excited. I can't wait. It's going to be, you know, fabulous. And all the people I get to see tomorrow. So you're already preparing yourself for a positive experience as opposed to that negative, oh my God, not another Monday. And it keeps us always excited about life. You know, when there's excitement about any activity we're doing, we can actually use that emotion of excitement to propel us forward in a positive way. Okay? So the word emotion is E and then motion.
Uh-huh.
So it depends. If we have negative emotions, what do you think it does to us? Slows us down, makes us doubt ourselves, just kind of puts a blanket, you know, wet blanket over everything. But if our emotions, if we can pretend, you know, if we fake it till we make it and we pretend like we're in the dumps and we can pretend we remember a time when we were having fun and life was simpler and, you know, we were just doing something fun and borrow that emotion and kind of like drag and drop it over what's happening in our life right now, things will change. Right. You know, a huge shift will happen.
Yeah, they do that a lot with PTSD. It's like changing the scenario or changing. I was trying to explain that before. It's like, it's almost splicing, like you said, like splicing it out and putting something else there.
You know, and here's the interesting thing, because a lot of people hold on to their belief systems like it's the last thing in the world. And so if their belief system says, I'm a victim, I'll never amount to anything, whatever they were programmed as they were growing up, and they hold on to that. They know they're miserable. They know they want to change, but they are afraid to let go of what they have right now because they don't know. It's the unknown of something new. And if that means holding on to this negativity, you know, stubbornly, I'll hold on to it until the last breath. And then if you knew that there was a way to let all that go and be who you are, you know, we're human beings. We're not human doings. And if we know that we can just create our destiny in any way, shape, or form, you know, say we want to just be a couch potato, that's our goal in life, we can program our mind to bring that about. Also, if we keep talking about the injury we had when we were 10 years old that held us back, and it's just because of that, blah, 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 then we are going to keep on creating the same energetic thing. Like, you know, if it was the injury or whatever, that'll keep on coming back to life again.
So then how does it get changed? How do you change that?
Well, number one, you got to want to change. It's like that joke, how many electricians does it take to change a light bulb? None. The light bulb's got to want to change or something like that. But we've got to want to change, and then we also have to trust in the process. And I like to say we need to trust in something bigger than ourselves. It could be whatever we want to call it, God, supreme being, spirit. We need to know that there is something bigger than us that is wanting to take care of us and guide us. And so if we can learn to trust and to let go of our fears and our mistrust, then we can choose a different path. And it's not an easy, it's simple, but it's not easy. So when we choose to go down another path, we can, I do a class called quantum jumping. I just did it last week. And what we do is we can jump into another reality where a twin of ours is doing something that we want to do. So basically we can try on this other life through this so-called doppelganger twin of ours and experience what it would feel like to be doing this. And then we can also bring back that energy of this twin back into our life in this reality, in this dimension. And then we can take up painting or singing or whatever, desires we have. But we always got to remember one thing. What holds us back is fear. False evidence appearing real. Fear.
It was totally fascinating.
That's interesting. Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
It's really interesting.
Go ahead.
Can I share, speaking of fear, so what jumped into my head right now was, so years ago I went to Costa Rica, and I had, I was so excited. I've got my big cameras. I have, in fact, there was a client of mine who was Tony Robbins' president of his company, and his wife passed away, and she wanted me to have all of her photography equipment. So, and she was a professional photographer, so I got these like tens of thousands of dollars worth of, lenses, and I call them bazookas, these big gray, bazooka lenses.
Oh yeah, those are nice.
And the next thing you know, I'm being asked to go, well, this was Costa Rica. Let me finish Costa Rica before I jump over to Africa, because I'm getting too excited. So anyway, I'm in Costa Rica. I got my camera gear. I didn't take everything. I just have, a normal camera. And we go to this place called Manuel Antonio. It's like a state park, a wildlife type of place. And so my fiance at the time, he's all excited. He's a Sagittarius. He's very excited, and he's like, he loves adventure. And so I said, "Oh, come on, we're going to go meet some wildlife." And he's like, "Oh, good, let me get my camera out too." So anyway, as we step into that park on the path, I do a silent kind of prayer, like an invitation. And I introduce ourselves, and I say, we're here for helping save the animals. We want to take photos back to where we live to show humanity so they do not destroy your rainforest. Anybody who volunteers, just step forward, and I will, be happy to take your photos. Okay? So we're walking, and just a couple minutes later, right there on the path is a coiled-up snake. Beautiful, beautiful snake. And I of course, I have no fear over any animal. It doesn't matter what it is. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, that is a poisonous snake, because they have a certain mouth. Their jaw is different than a regular snake. So anyway, I had no fear, didn't express any fear. And they smell and they see your aura if you have fear. Like, you'll be red and spiky, and you'll smell of fear, and they translate that as aggression, and that could be why they attack. So anyway, I put myself in gratitude space. I put myself in love space. And I said to the snake, "You are the most magnificent, beautiful snake that I've ever seen." And in the back of my mind, I said, "Today." Because I've seen other snakes, nicer snakes. But I just said, "You're most beautiful."
I'd be scared.
But we're programmed to be scared. And so I told him, "Honestly, you're the most beautiful snake I've ever seen today." And I said, "Do I have your permission to take photos of you?" And I got this instantaneously, but of course. So I'm snapping away, and I see a stick, a long stick, and I pick up the stick, and I flash him a thought in my head to his head that I am going to use this stick to stretch you out because I want to take a photo of how long you are because you're magnificent. And so I get a nod of his energetic head giving me permission to do that. So I stretch him out and I'm getting photos of how long he is and everything. And he's just beautiful. And I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And he curls up and he goes back to basking in the sun. So we're walking along again and we see this huge black, looked like a constrictor or python or something, but he was shiny black. He had a yellow underbelly and he was all coiled up. Very beautiful, beautiful snake. Again, oh my goodness, you're just so beautiful. And as I'm saying that to him, it's like I'm beaming. I'm beaming out love and gratitude. I'm so grateful I get to see you. I get to meet you. How many people have this opportunity to meet you? And so, again, I feel him like puffing up, like he's swelling up with pride. Then I ask him, do I have permission to take your photo? And he says, of course. And do you know what that little thing did? He flashed right and went right into the water. I'm like, hey, I thought you said it was okay. And I hear splash, splash, splash. And next thing you know, he's back on the bank of the little creek or river with a toad in his mouth right up at my feet. Oh. And I got photos of this thing.
Oh, nice.
He's right at my feet, looking up at me with this toad hanging out of his mouth. And I hear him say that he brought me food. And I said, oh, thank you so much. I so much appreciate it. I already ate. You go ahead and eat it this time. Next time I'll eat whatever you want to bring me. So it was amazing, that the instantaneous communication, with these animals. And then we walked along. I found another one of those dangerous, so-called dangerous poisonous snakes again. He let me take pictures, but he wasn't as animated. He was just like, whatever, do whatever. I don't care. But anyhow, so anyway, we get back to San Diego. I go to this reptile show with my photos, and I asked the herpetologist there, I said, do you have any idea what kind of snakes these are? I just kind of want an idea of what kind of snakes I was dealing with. And he looked at them, and he shook his head, and he goes, how close were you? I said, oh, you see the stick right there in my hand? I'm stretching him out. And the guy, I saw it, like his face just drop. He goes, you have no idea, do you, what kind of snake that was? I go, no, that's what I'm asking you. He goes, it's a fer-de-lance. They're the most dangerous pit vipers in South America. Not only is their bite deadly, you'll die within 15 minutes if you don't go to the hospital. Your flesh starts eating away, and they chase you. They're very aggressive. They'll chase you. And I go, these were kittens. They were like puppy dogs. They were really sweet. They were cooperative. They were very nice. And he was like, you got to be out of your mind. And then there's my fiance, my ex-fiance, standing next to me. He goes, why didn't you tell me how dangerous? And I said, because if I did, you would have put your life in danger because you would have went into fear. You would have gotten red. Your aura would be red. You'd be putting out the spikes and it would smell fear. So to me, it's like, I'm neutral. These are friends. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But anyway, I don't want to hog up your whole show. So if you
no, you're good. You're the guest of the show.
About you.
Yeah, the show's the whole show is for you today.
Oh, thank you. I know. I get so excited talking about this stuff. It's just it's like going to Disneyland. Like when you're a little kid. I don't know if you've ever been or not, but it's exciting. So Africa, I got to tell you about Africa. So anyhow, I know a photographer. His name is Paul Renner. He's a wildlife photographer from Laguna Beach, and he's got a gallery up there. And he's got he takes people a couple times a year to Tanzania and Kenya, and he was asking me. He goes, this animal thing you do where you teach people how to talk to animals. Can you do it with wild animals? And I go, can I ever? Let me show you my photos. I said, wild animals actually listen, they communicate better than domesticated animals because domesticated animals have been corrupted by the humans. But the wild ones, they are what they are. So it's a lot easier. And he said, well, let me talk to our photographers. We got 12 photographers that are going on this photo shoot for 2 weeks. And let me see if I can, get everybody's agreement to hire you to go on this trip. So, of course, he comes back and he goes, yep, they can't wait to have their first lesson. So, we get together, give them their first lesson. And, we got all walks of life. We got a lot of retired people, they're kind of shaking their heads like, yeah, this woman's nuts. And so we get on the trip, and they have 3 people per Jeep, right? It's a really good tour company they use. So we're out on the first safari, I guess you call it, photo safari. And everybody wants to sit in my Jeep because they figure I will have all the animals coming, to my Jeep. And so anyway, I send out a welcome. It's kind of like that Batman beam of light I send out. We're here, come and find us. And we have exciting news. We want to see you. We want to get photos of you. We want to take these photos back and share with the humans back home. And so instantly there's a lion cubs, mother cubs, daddy lion, right there by the little dirt road we were on. And we stop, we get our photos, and these guys were just looking at us like we were just their long lost friends. There was no fear, no aggression whatsoever. They were just, you would think they were domesticated lions. They were really nice. And so anyway, we had, for 14 days, we had 2 safaris a day, and this is how it went. It was like magic, and the tour guide said, oh yeah, leopards, they're nocturnal, they don't come out in the daytime, we'll never see leopards in the daytime. And I go, oh, you think so, right? So I put my leopard thinking cap on, send out the message to leopards, okay, we're here, we want to see you, and show us where you are. And sure enough, up on the top of the tree, there's this leopard. His legs are hanging over. He's kind of half asleep. He's got one eye open looking at us. And we got really great photos of this leopard, during broad daylight. But one of the neatest things, and this kind of segues into some of the other work I do past life therapy, past life regressions. So anyway, prior to this trip, I was studying with a past life guy named Brian Weiss. He's written many books on past lives. Anyway, he had me up in front of the class doing a demo, and it was getting over my fear of water. I loved being around the beach. I love water. I love swimming pools, but if I were to get into the water up to my chest, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. So anyway, that's what I wanted to get over, and I asked him to do that regression for me. And he did, and what came up for me was I was an African boy, a 9-year-old boy, and there was a lion that had been killing our tribe people. And so the men of our tribe got together, and we went out to hunt this lion down. And I got taken on this hunt. And they killed the lion, and they had it on poles over their shoulders, and we were walking long distance, so we had to make camp. And so we were eating what we could find, like berries and whatnot. And my throat swelled shut. And one of the guys took a reed and he spit water down my throat, and I drowned. Okay, that's that past life. I drowned in that past life. And so, I died before we actually got back to our village. And so on this trip, believe it or not, and I still have this proof, believe it or not, this little African boy comes running up to me, grabs my arm. He goes, ma'am, these are yours. And I go, what are you talking about? And he holds out his palm of his hand. There's a lion tooth and a lion claw. I ask him, what are those? He goes, there's the tooth and the claw of the lion you didn't get last time. I go, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, these were yours. You didn't get them last time. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is he talking about last time? And it hit me. Because I was part of the hunting party that killed that lion. I guess all the men in this party got a tooth and a claw from the lion. So I brought them back home with me. I had to smuggle them because it's not allowed to be taking things like that out of Africa. But
and we just talked about it on the podcast. There you go. Awesome. I love it. What are they going to do now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it was amazing how that coincided. Talk about synchronicity, how it coincided with that trip. I get paid to go on this trip to Africa, and they give me all these little gifts, that they made. Like one of the guys is a wood carver, and he carved me a lion head, and then I get these tooth and claw. I mean, that was like the most amazing thing, that this little boy recognized me.
That is pretty cool.
It was amazing.
Pretty cool stuff.
Wow, that is nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so any questions that you'd like to know?
Yeah,
Yeah, so go back to...
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Danielle. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I've got mine too. You go ahead and do yours, and then I'll ask her. Go ahead.
I forgot. Go ahead.
She forgot. Hey, when she does that, she says she forgot. Something I wanted to ask you about. We talked about this briefly before we got on the air. You said that you do spiritual Tantra. You want to explain kind of what that is?
So there are many different varieties of Tantra. There's red Tantra, there's white Tantra, and I tend to practice the white Tantra, which is spiritual healing. I do a lot of clearings on people. I do house healings. I clear the energy from people's homes. Like, say, for example, there was a guy that owned a restaurant up in San Clemente, and he got on video a ghost flying past his surveillance cameras, and he has to call me up. Yvonne, what is this? I can't believe what I just saw. And I said, don't worry, I'll come up and I'll take care of it. So I went up, I did a house healing on his business. And so I was able to release that energy, allow it to go to the light and be healed. And so this is one of the things that I practice when I'm doing the white Tantra, is doing the healing of misguided energies. So for example, when I work with couples that have been married, for a while, and maybe things have gotten stale, they're very, they're like roommates now, okay? And so they can come to me, and I can do a clearing and a healing on their energy field and remove any blockages that's keeping them from having a happy relationship. And so one of the weird things is I had this couple. They were both very devout Catholics, and they had come in to see me, and I did a healing on them, and I kept getting this this weird message that said they could no longer be intimate because they were now related, because they have the same last name, which means, when you're in a family and you have a mother, a father, and kids, they all have the same last name. So somehow the subconscious mind deep down knew they had the same last name. So now they're a couple, or they're a family, and they cannot have intimate relations because that's taboo. So I had to break that spell and give them permission to, maybe in the bedroom, they can call each other, like pet names. They can have a different, name for each other, so they don't feel like they're doing something against the church per se.
Wow.
But also that couple, because they weren't going to have any kids, that was another block in their energy field. Was, okay, it's against the Catholic religion to procreate without procreating. Okay, so then they couldn't just do it for love. They couldn't do it for fun. They could only, in their minds, they can only do it if they were procreating a child. So there was a lot of re-education, that I got to work with them with.
I can see where that could be a problem. Yeah, no doubt about that. Danielle, go ahead for anything you want to ask.
I think I wanted to know more. You do pet readings?
Yes, I do pet readings. Okay, so somebody brings in, one of their pets. Like maybe the pet's got health issues, or maybe the pet has behavioral difficulties. I can sit with it and kind of look at the energy, and I can ask it questions, like, what's going on here? For example, this is a really great story. In fact, I'm in the process of finishing up my book called The Voice of the Animals and What They Want You to Know. And I have a chapter on there about Spencer. Spencer is a pit bull dog, and his human brought him in and told me in no uncertain terms that this dog is a wuss. I want this dog to be aggressive, killer, watchdog. Okay? And I said, okay, leave. Go take a walk down at the bay and come back in an hour, and then we'll discuss. So anyway, I'm talking to Spencer, and he spills his guts. I mean, I see everything that this guy's involved with, drugs and this and that, and guns, and I'm like, holy moly. Are you sure you want to live in that house? So anyway, and then I said, what is it that you want? You're showing me what the situation is. What is it that you would like to have if you could have anything? And so the dog shows me, and animals will communicate mostly in like pictures, like we're sharing pictures back and forth in our minds, like in our mental screen. And so I'm seeing him at a park playing frisbee and running around chasing other dogs, just having fun and playing with kids. And this guy didn't have any kids. So playing with kids and just being a normal, fun-loving, happy-go-lucky dog, okay? So this is what Spencer's desire is. So anyway, the guy comes back. I sit him down. I say, okay, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is you have got the most wonderful, wonderful, fun-loving, happy-go-lucky dog here. You have no idea how lucky you are. He wants to go to parks and play frisbees. And you should see the look on this guy's face. It's like, that's not what I told you to program my dog to do. And I said, the bad news is this. If you want this dog to be happy, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to either let him have the life he wants, or you're going to put him up for adoption specifically to somebody who can give him that life. And then you can go get another dog that's already trained to be this killer dog that you want it to be. And I never mentioned anything about what this dog showed me that goes on at home. Didn't want to get in trouble or get the dog in trouble. But anyhow, he left kind of disgruntled, and I thought, oh, wow, I'll never see this guy again, right? Months later, about 6 months pass, he comes in to see me just for a follow-up. He was dressed differently. He looked totally different. His energy looked different. He actually looked like he was clean, like he'd taken a shower. He just looked different. And so I said, so tell me what's going on. And he said, you wouldn't believe. At first, I paid all this money for this dog. I didn't want the dog to, be a wuss. But I took him to a park one day, and I met this woman that has a dog. The two dogs started playing. Now the woman and I are dating. So he can thank his dog now for meeting this woman. And so that was very heartwarming, to give him that experience and to allow the dog, to express his feelings.
And from that big of a difference in his dress and demeanor, I would think that it must sound like he probably left a bunch of the other stuff that was a negative. Just a theory I have on that.
Yeah, and you're right on, because I didn't ask him because I wasn't supposed to know any of that stuff. But, he did say he did get a new job. And I said, oh, are you happy there? Is it, a good job? And he goes, well, it's too soon to tell, but so it looked like it was a regular type of job, probably didn't pay as much as he was making, but at least, it was not life-threatening and... right. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually...
So, yeah, animals save our lives. There's a lot to be said for these seniors that live all by themselves. Like say their spouse passes away. Usually a spouse... like say they lost their partner, there's a lot of them that will pass away within a year of their spouse passing away. Now, if they got a dog or a cat and had a companion, it would give them a reason to live. And, because they would have a companion, they would have emotional support, but they would have a reason to get up every day. They need, like if you have a dog, you must take that dog outside to go to the bathroom, and you must feed and water it every day. And then while you're at it, maybe you can sneak a pet it and, pet his head every now and again. But I'm so set on exposing a lot of seniors, to the value of having a pet.
No doubt. I agree.
Yep.
Yes, because it's been proven their overall mental health and everything is better when they have a pet.
Yes. Well, animals, if you think about it, humans, we're given freedom of choice and whatnot, but we also are very judgmental. We tend to not love unconditionally. The only time usually that a human can love unconditionally is when there is a baby. And it's like this story goes, I like to tell people, like when you're a newborn infant and you have, you could do no wrong. I mean, you just make the worst stink in your diapers and, you spit up all over your mother. You can do all these horrible things and you scream, but you're loved unconditionally. They coo and, oh, you're so cute, baby. But, once you reach the age where you no longer wear diapers, it's like you get spanked. It's like, what do you mean? You made an accident, go clean your room and go do dishes and go, all of a sudden all these judgments come into play. But animals, on the other hand, love you as you are unconditionally.
Yeah.
And
that's wonderful. All animals?
Well, let me just say this. I'm a Pom mom. I raise Pomeranians. And I'll have to say that these little guys can be very spoiled. Especially, I find, like I had one named Tiffany. And sometimes when you name them things, they live up to their name. So Tiffany, she thought she was the princess, and she was always picking on my little chihuahua. And she would grab a piece of food, and she would put it on the floor, and then she would step back, and then when he would go for the food, she would attack him. So you could tell she had human traits.
Wow. Well, I'm going to break. Yeah, well, go ahead, Dio. I got a question I'm going to ask her after if you ask what you're talking about.
Oh, so I was going to quickly say, speaking of human traits, have you ever noticed dogs? There's certain people will start to look like their dogs or vice versa. I noticed that when I was a child. My grandma had a Pomeranian, and she'd be sitting on the couch watching TV at night, and he'd sit there, on her shoulder or on her lap. And I swear, they had identical eyes. I mean, I'd look at her, I'd look at him. It's like, oh, this is so bizarre. They look identical. But I figured it out later why that was, is when animals, they want to heal you, okay? If, like, say, for example, people are depressed or upset about something, animals will come around and sit close to you, and they will, like a magnet, they'll pull off the energy that you're suffering from and try to cheer you up. And so as these animals are cleaning out your energy, they start to take on some of your physical attributes. It's very strange, to see. So next time you're out in public and you see a dog with its human, go, wow, they look just like their dog. Or the dog looks like them.
I love it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So what were you going to ask?
Oh, so you were talking about the human and the dog. So I had a little negative experience with a dog a couple of months ago, and one just a couple of days ago. And I'm not usually one to be fearful of animals. And the first incident, I was in Missouri a couple of months ago, and I was just door dashing in Missouri, which I do that outside the podcast. And sorry about that. Apparently, we have some outside noise coming through. Anyway, what happened was I was making the delivery, and I'm walking away, and there's all these like little dogs, and then there's just one big dog in the yard, and I hear from the owner, "Oh, don't worry about it. They don't bite anyone." And boom, I got bit, and I'm like, "This one just bit me," and it was a very negative incident. And of course, I had to go to the hospital, a bunch of other stuff, but. Not so serious that it could, wasn't bleeding, but just for precautionary things. And then the reason I wanted to ask this question was because I thought later that there was something that caused this dog to be aggressive for no reason, because I'm not usually fearful of dogs, like you were mentioning, not showing fear. And then a couple of days ago, I had one down here, and I put it together that the human already had caused this dog to be aggressive. Now, it was next door to the place I was delivering, and I just kind of, in the car, just saying, "Hey," and I didn't realize the dog was restrained, and he